Well, I guess
We're live.
Okay. So what did you want to talk about today?
Well, as the name rings a bell, and it doesn't mean we're necessarily going to go completely off the title of the episode, most podcasts don't. So, without a further ado, this is purely Atriel, my brand new podcast, my first podcast. And I'm happy to once again be here with my grandfather, Papa Superheart. And we are on podcast number 2. Today, I think that it'll be beneficial to discuss dangers such as, I'm going to say, drugs, human trafficking, and what causes certain things like that to happen. And we don't even know really the answers. And sexual orientation. So you look like you have some thoughts.
Well, I mean, how long are you wanting this podcast to run?
Well, I think since we have time today, we can go for about an hour.
Okay, we'll go for about an hour. I don't know which one of those subjects you really want me to start on, but I'll start by telling you that danger. A lot of dangerous things going on today because people, this is just my opinion, have lost a lot of respect for each other. They have short fuses. They need the control factor in their life. I'm guilty of every one of these. They're impatient. It's got to be now. The ethics are slipping. The educational system, I'll give you just a simple one. When I was in school, I had 2 sisters. When I was between, first grade and the 12th grade, and their favorite class was home ec. You can't find home ec. They don't teach home ec to women, girls today, the females in the system. I'm not saying that to teach them equality is a bad thing to teach them. I'm for equality, but that's not a human possibility. That'll never happen, and because humans are just too hypocritical for and I'm president of that club by a long way. There isn't anything that I would talk to you about that I'm not guilty of, because I'm an imperfect human in an imperfect world. Now, as to dangerous things, the most dangerous thing that I believe ranks certainly in the top 5. I mean, why would I name a top 5? Because that would just be my opinion. But I believe we have a total lack of leadership, not just in this country, but throughout the world. And it's showing. And it's not showing in a positive manner. One of the dangers is the press of this country. The first question I ask, and I'll pick on them first, not because I want to, but just
because it's necessary.
Well, it just, the other side never liked this part of the media anyway. So what happened to Pravda? You may not even know what in the heck that is, Atriel. I don't know that you do or you don't. You're smarter than most most kids your age,
Definitely
so you
heard
may
of
know what
Pravda.
Pravda is.
Definitely.
But if you ask, you can ask adults, and they don't know what Pravda is.
Probably.
Okay, you know.
So why don't you explain to everybody what Pravda is?
Well, I'm going to. Pravda was the official newspaper of the Communist Party of Russia. It was in Moscow, and they've gone somewhere. I don't know. They've taken a 30 or 40 year hiatus. They're not around. They're kafooey. And where did they move? I mean, they had to move somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my guess is they moved to the New York Times, because the New York Times has a problem finding anything uh, good anymore about the particular country that we occupy.
Oh yeah.
And it's a shame, because negativity is something we don't need right now. We need a lot of people who want to laugh and be positive.
Oh yeah.
Get their sense of humor back.
Oh yeah.
And we have a lot of hate in this country, in the United States. And the hatred is across all of the races. It's not confined to one race. It's just people that don't like anything. They don't like the blue sky. But if you put the 535 congressmen out in an open field on a cloudless day, you couldn't get any of them to tell you the sky was blue, because unless one of their staff members told them that was the truth, there's no way they could tell you that. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of different dangers. We have the treatment of mental health. That's a danger. I've been mentally ill. I have experienced that on my own, and it didn't matter who in the world at that time was going to come help me, because how would you know how to help me overcome mental illness? You're not trained for that, and some of the people that are trained for that have a hard time, because it's a hard thing to deal with, and we don't have enough mental health helpers. It's the world, due to all this technology, is becoming a world of, let me see how little I can do and get paid as much to do it.
And it's a very brainwashed country. I find it sickening and also frightening how brainwashed the United States is.
Well, let's stay positive. Let's.
Well, I know, and I'm not saying that it can't get better for some people, but the social media and the technology is a huge part. I can't say that I have not partaken in social media. I'd be lying if I said that. Lying. However, I have not let anybody on social media change my way of thinking, change my way of acting, nor change my way of being. And that's something that a lot of people have not been able to put into their head and say, I'm me. I'm not going to be the same as every single person on the internet.
Well, you see, it's hard. I mean, I may have to stumble around with this one. It's very, I have been diagnosed with Parkinson's in the last year. And if you go into a room for some kind of physical activity class, which I have done on numerous occasions, there's no two people in there that have the same symptoms. it is amazing, and you can take the Parkinson's disease and realize how different uh, everyone really is. It's hard to then transfer that into let's listen to everybody, because you can't listen to everybody. You don't. I mean, I don't know how you would find the time for people to allow everybody in a particular situation. I mean, let's take a school board meeting. Let's take a chamber of commerce meeting. I mean, if everybody got to speak for 5 minutes, I mean, it'd go into the next business day. So humans just let me see how to say this. I love humans. I particularly love women. I think women are a lot smarter,
Most definitely.
than they're given credit for. Uh, some of them can even pick up as heavy a box as a man. So,
And that's something that a lot of
but
people
there's a but to this.
don't believe.
When I was growing up, I won't name names here, but if the response to this is if you can't name names, then why should we believe you? Well, I'll be happy if you send a question like that. I'll answer you next week. Don't think I'm running away from you. I just think that it's okay to leave names out right now. But there were several wonderful female players that played at the U.S. Open who I would go and watch every one of their matches in the 10 or 12 days that I was up there. I had no compunction about whether they were ladies or men. I mean, a good match of tennis is a good match of tennis. Well, they wanted equal pay. I don't have anything against equal pay. That's fine with me. Pay everybody equal. If you're gonna have a business where you're gonna have two chief financial officers, you have to pay them the same salary. I'm not extending this to a starting employee of a store, whether it's a Dollar Tree, whether it's a Target, whether it's a Walmart. I'm not sure, that you can pay every employee the same salary. On the other hand, I'm sure there are people that have figured out how to do that. But we make things hard. Humans make things hard. I don't know whether it's the controlling factor or I've got to be in charge, and unless I okay it, you can't do it. I mean, people should be working more together instead.
Against each other.
We're losing that, and we're also having people who used to have year-round employment who don't want to work now. And I don't understand that. I don't have any way of understanding that. I'm 78 years old. I could go be a janitor at Walmart. I'll be happy to be a janitor at Walmart, but I don't want to employ myself at this point in my life.
I mean, you're already employed. You have your own business and everything. So
yeah, but I'm not on the payroll. But doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So there's a lot of dangerous things that we don't, we want to run from instead of toward. And that's going to become an issue. That's going to become a big issue, just like the treatment of mental health. We've got mental health people who can't get help. There's no way for them to get help. There's no help basically available, you know. Um, both parties, in my mind, the Democrats and Republicans, actually need to disappear. Uh, it seems like neither party is willing to do. They keep saying, "Well, we're doing this for the American people. Well, we're doing this for the American people. Well, we're doing this for the American people. We're doing that for the American people." And I suspect, if you looked at the fact of things,
they're not doing a blooming thing.
The bills that they pass, that where they want to tax, millionaires on a higher level than a normal citizen like me. There's probably an unknown fact. I don't know that I'm going to tell you this 100%, because I don't spend time on the phone looking all this stuff up. It's just something that, seems to be right. And that is that all of the senators and the House of Representative members, for the most part, if not all of the part, are millionaires, but the bills don't affect their millions. It seems like that some of them even get prior information on stock transactions, okay? And the American people that I know in the black community and in the white community that live next door to each other are both the men and the women are working 40 to 80 hours a week, trying to make their house payment, pay for their electricity, make their car payment, buy groceries, school supplies, clothes for their kids, gas in the car to get them back and forth to school, or run errands, or this and that and the other, car insurance, life insurance, and we're not rewarding success. We're rewarding losers and people that don't laugh and have a terrible sense of humor.
Bottom feeders.
Bottom feeders. That's a good way of saying it. And it's just becoming. Humans are going to have to change, and they're going to have to make some big changes. Maybe maybe there's going to have to be some seriousness. I'm a guy that does not own a gun. I don't really feel the need in my circumstances here where I live and in the apartment complex in which I reside that I need a gun. But I would be the kind of gun owner that if you came in and made me cock my gun, I'm going to shoot you. Got to have some leaders who understand that there's just so much you can put up with. 100 years ago, even when in the 50s, there was a group of terrorists. And they were in my community, the white community, and they were called the Ku Klux Klan. And all they were terrorists. You could have said, well, let's work something out. And they would say, well, these are the 20 demands that I make. And if you do these things, we'll do what you ask. Well, you do the 20 things they'd ask, and
you get nothing.
And then they'd ask for 20 more. Well, that's what's going on with various groups in the United States, which really, I can say Ku Klux Klan, but I can't say Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. Because I guess that the police will show up at the door or something. because I insinuated that but it's like Hamas. Uh, these are terrorist organizations. They're not they're not seeking peace. They have no interest in peace. They're not going to make any more money if there's peace. They need to be able to deal in their vile
and corrupt the world.
Their vile behavior, and it's there's a lot of single people, particularly females, women, who are very scared right now, and they should be because of the situation. I mean, it's just that's the way it is in this day and time in this society, and something's got to be done to change society. And so that's where I've gotten to at this point. Now, what would you like to say?
Do you remember, and I'm not going to name any names here, this wasn't too long ago, and I'm okay with sharing this because this is all about honesty to me. Do you remember when we went? Okay, so let me reenact this. I'm scrolling on my phone. I'm probably listening to a Taylor Swift song, and all of a sudden I get a text. I scroll up, and I see it says there's an audition at 7:30 at the Embassy Suites hotels. So, me being as big into acting as I am, and the music industry, and all that, I make plans to do that. However, I'm seeing the same script that's sent, the same script from one of my past auditions that I did that I didn't get a call back in. And I memorized that script perfectly. And I didn't get a call back. It didn't bother me. Yes, I can't say I wasn't disappointed. And I just I start to want to do my own thing just because I know I can. And I want to do my own little monologue. And so a monologue, for those who don't have the brain capacity to understand what a monologue is, I will explain it for you. A monologue is when it's like what I'm doing right now. I'm talking to you. I don't know who you are. I'm just talking. I'm the only one talking. And so a monologue is just one person talking. Just one person talking. And it's a form of acting where just one person is talking. So I want to do a monologue, and I show up. First of all, I run into this woman who looks 16 years old, but she tells me she's about 30. And she asks me, does she need a headshot and a resume? And I said, well, I didn't bring either the last time I went to the audition. And I tell her where I think the audition is going to be based on the last audition I had at the Embassy Suites. And I then find out that's not correct. I meet up with somebody else that I just randomly came in for the audition. Not going to name names. I don't even know if I remember the name. But it's not important. I follow him upstairs, and we go into this kind of like a meeting room, and we ask if they're holding the audition here. Well, first thing we get is yes, and go in the other door. And then we go in the other door, quiet. So right off the bat, it's a little bit kind of negative energy that we're walking into. And I still decide to go through with the audition process, and I sign my name and my address. Probably not the best idea. And I sit down and wait for them to call the age groups. I see a bunch of just talented people who can sing, who can act, who can dance, who can even rap, and amongst other stuff, who can model. And then when it's my turn to go up there, I use what's called the only thing I know how to go based off of a script that I barely even memorized, and that's to remember why I wrote the script. So I remember why I wrote the script, and just like a burst of energy comes out, and I just almost scream my monologue. But in the emotion that it's supposed to be in, like I'm throwing someone out, I'm slamming the door on the haters, and I then don't leave. I wait until everybody's done, and I talk with this same woman who had also found that where we thought that the audition was going to be held was not the case. I talk with this woman, and then the next day I find out we've both been called back. Well, I find out that night, and I guess so does she. And I go back at about, I'm going to say 10 o'clock in the morning for the callback. And she's sitting right there. I sit down right next to her. I let her know this is a scam. They want $2,297. I let them know this was a scam. I'm not getting my feelings hurt. I'm not saying, oh man, this is a really crappy situation and I should just pout about it. I'm like, you know what? This is a scam and, there's better opportunities. So I let her know this is a scam. And while I'm talking about it, somebody turns to me and is like, this is a scam? And so I'm like, yeah, no real. That I explained to what's wrong with this picture and why this is a scam. Not only because of the money they want, but they're not providing any plane, any travel, any of the expenses, and who even knows if the hotel they claim to pay for is even legitimate. And then they can't even get their story straight. A lot of the pictures on their site are photoshopped and docked, and you can find most of them online if you know how to. So we decide to opt out, and I don't know, after I stayed the whole audition, but we decide we're not doing it. So I cannot stop talking to this one girl that I met at this audition, and we talk, and he's got to go. I mean, he's got errands to run. He can't stay here all day. I mean, so I let him go off, and I just I must have had real trust in this woman because I just hopped in her car, and we went down to the mall, which was right by the Embassy Suites, and we. So
excuse me just a minute.
Yeah.
You were trying to get on the focus of honesty.
Honesty.
Okay. So what you're saying to this audience that we hope we have is that there are scams out there.
Yes.
And the reason I'm bringing it up is, you see, I'm a senior. They try to scam seniors every hour, every minute of the day. So I don't know how to fix that. Okay. And I don't know how the public can fix that.
Well, as long as we have the internet, it's more and more achievable.
Well, I'm going to change the subject.
All right.
I have, said what I've had to say the first round.
Mm-hmm.
it is my belief that we have uh, these major communication problems at this point. We have a whole diverse. That means one thing to one bunch of people and another thing to another bunch of people, because one bunch of people they will invite like-minded people not on the same degree to speak. But if somebody that is completely on the other side wants to speak, they make sure it gets canceled so that the people, this could be a conservative bunch or a liberal bunch. But to me, it seems like it's more of a liberal bunch. I don't know what liberal means anyway. Uh, so where I'm coming from is that we have to get our sense of humor back. We have to laugh more. We have to find more of what's good around us instead of what's bad around us. And the only way we can do that is we have to make a fundamental uh, thought process change, which is even harder for me as a human being. You know, you're a young man, and you're gonna keep going on. You're gonna be faced with, well, I gotta change this, and humans make change very hard. So years and years ago, my grandfather, who was a second grade educated person from Kiev, Ukraine, where they're having a war with Russia now, made his way to Philadelphia in about 1898. So he had no education, but he became a very wealthy gentleman.
Millionaire, right?
Well, you do now. And he explained to me what change was. Now, in those days, they didn't have the 5 blade. They had a blade, a razor blade, and you used one side, and then you used the other side for the other side. And he explained to me how simple change is, but how hard it is for humans, which is what I am. I'm a member of the human race. Why it's so hard to do that. He said, what you should do is on Monday, get up and shave your right side of your face first. And then the next day, Tuesday, do the left side of your face first. And that's change. That's how simple change is. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do. Even for me, I can't do it 100% perfectly. But we make it a lot harder than that. That is our nature. So let's go to another subject. We have a bunch of interested people. So you don't want to belittle anything that somebody's interested in. They have as much right to have a strong opinion about something that you have a terrible opinion of. And so there are people out there who need to save our planet. Okay? Are they right? Could be. They could be. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're not right. I don't know whether they're right or not. But they could be wrong just as well as they could be right. And so instead of, I think, on having, I just, this is something that I've thought of over the years as I've listened to this debate go on, which, as you know, I don't watch the news anymore. I don't have any use for it. I can't do anything about it. I have Parkinson's. I need to take care of myself. There are times that you have to become a little, what's the word, selfish. And this is one of those times. But I believe that the actual enemy is the trees and the plants. There's so much interest in we have to plant trees. You know, don't cut down a tree. Okay. I think trees, you can put pines anywhere you want them, and they'll dry up any piece of property that you got them on. You'll have a hard time with pine trees. They sap up all the water, and there's other trees that do the same thing. So it's just like cell phones. You go to a restaurant, and this includes me, and everybody's on their cell phone. I admit to you that only 9 out of 10 times,
propaganda.
Only 1 out of 10 times do I take my phone in, and if I'm expecting a phone call from you or your brother or sister or your mother, you know. So, but you know, your grandmother and I get a kick out of the fact that we'll be sitting there and we only 2 people talking to each other. It's just amazing how even the adults, my generation has just taken to where they almost can't operate anymore without this thing. I like to throw mine in the pond.
Why don't you do it?
Well, your grandmother feels like that I need to be the one with the email. And you know, it basically drives me crazy, the whole thing. So you know, there are just things that we're going to have to solve. We have taken it for granted that we just get to do this, and I'm not including Europe. I'm not disincluding Europe. But my conversations are more about this country. But this country is a teenager. It still may be an infant compared to the fact that Europe has 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years of existence. You know, it'd be kind of like having a baby. You get married, let's say at 20 years old, you marry a 20-year-old woman, you all conceive a child, you have this child, now you're 21 years old, and the child starts telling you what to do. The child can't even talk, but the child's telling you what to do. And the child is the United States, and the grandparents and the parents are Europe and Asia. Okay. And I didn't make it that way. You know, I love the United States. It's the greatest opportunity that God's ever allowed to be taking place on this planet, in the history of this planet. And being Jewish, we are the only people who have scribed history every year that we've existed, and that's 5,700, and I think we're about to come up on 84 or 85. So that's a long time for one group of people. And humanity is going to destroy itself if they do not try to figure out how to live together. Ants don't seem to have that problem, do they? You put an ant farm down, you can put 8 million ants down there, and they got something to do, and they go do it. And the workers work, and the queen does her thing, and the lieutenants do their thing, and the generals do their thing, and they don't seem to run into each other, have car accidents, this, that, and the other, scream at each other, you know, road rage. They don't have any of that stuff. It's just amazing.
Papa, you're giving the ant and the grass over there a little too much of a head, Papa. Giving him a big head over there.
Listen, it's just that's the way it is.
I'm not disagreeing at all.
You know. So to make, I mean, we're facing some possible not so nice years in front of us.
And that's dangerous. And scary. You should be scared.
Well, I'm not scared.
Well,
I no reason to get. Well, how am I going to get scared? I'm not old enough to get scared, except by a snake. If a snake crawled up on this patio out here, I'd be out the front door and probably halfway to Atlanta in less than 30 minutes.
how are you scared of snakes?
Well, I'm scared of snakes. Or is there anything in your life that you're scared of? Beetle? How about a lizard?
I'm going to say a wasp. I'm scared of
Okay.
wasps.
Well, there you have it.
And I'm scared of scorpions. Maybe scorpions more
Well,
than wasps.
you should be. Scorpions are very dangerous, but they're not really indigenous, to this area of the world. Anyway, how long have we been doing this?
Well, it's been about 40. About
Well,
40
I
minutes.
would say that we've come to a good place to stop this week. We'll take it up. We'll take up something else next week. And we can go back and continue to talk some
One
of this.
thing I do think we should get into
Okay.
happens to be what has happened in the last few years, because as long as I've been alive, this didn't start until just a couple years ago to really be a huge thing. And it's affected the Chick-fil-A, it's affected local businesses, it's affected a lot of places that are massively successful. And that is pronouns, gender
What did you say,
fluidness, pronouns.
Pronouns.
Gender fluidness.
I don't even know what that is. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Okay, pronouns. I don't even know what that means.
All this just weird sexual orientation. Weird is all I can say about it.
Well, I'm not a Bible person, so here's my take on it.
Okay.
I don't know what pronoun means. I don't know how to connotate pronoun. I don't know how to tell you about something they call woke. I'm not on social media. I don't know anything about any of this stuff. I just know that for governments to be spending so much of their time trying to please a most little, it probably isn't even 1% of the people and their rights. They have rights. I mean, they have rights, but they don't need to be thrown into the 99% who don't need to hear about that, because these people are not beaten up by the 99%. I mean, there are people in the 99% that would tell them that you're doing something against the grace of God. I mean, you understand? Okay. So there's going to be misinformed people on both sides of the issue, but to spend so much time on that small of a minority is not fair to the other part of society who outnumbers this bunch of people who are trying to take and be the only attention out there. So that to me is what the problem with the pronoun stuff is. I mean,
Well,
You know, I don't know what woke is. That's something I've heard used.
I know what woke is, I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure someone would classify you as woke.
Me? Okay. I did. I woke up this morning. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think what it means, I believe that this is right. And I think what people have said it means is that you don't believe in propaganda. You don't believe in believing every single thing you see on the internet, therefore you're woke.
Well, I have a whole podcast that we can do on propaganda, which we can do next week. And I will leave with this. One of the situations that we are facing in our society of the 50 states that call themselves the United States of America, which is still, even though it's under attack, and it's under attack by the Manchurian candidates. For people that don't know that, that is where China and Russia have sent over here to infiltrate our society because they can do that. They can get into our country just by showing up at the border.
And
that was 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. All they had to do was show up at our border. We, on the other hand, if we go over or to those countries, can't do all that. Okay? So they've infiltrated our society. Okay? And they're trying to destroy from within.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They're trying to destroy this society by having this society destroy itself. In other words, attack their, you know, it's kind of like, what is that? The manta, the praying manta. You know,
mantis.
Yeah, the praying manta. The male and the female get together to create more praying mantas, and the female at the end of the session kills the male. I didn't know whether you knew that or not.
I did.
Okay. So that's kind of what maybe needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do that next week.
Oh, yeah.
This has been a lot of fun.
I've think so as well.
With you. And I appreciate you putting up with me.
Well, you know, if Bubby can do it, then I can do it too.
Well, that's really a good way to end it. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Of course. And we will see you next Saturday for another podcast. Papa, you remember when we were watching Cardi B?
Are you still on? What?
And you have your signature Cardi B move. Somebody asked you to do it.
Who? On this podcast?
Somebody asked you to do your signature Cardi B move.
All right. Well, you're going to have to turn the thing around.
Ah.
You know. And I hope there's enough light in here for somebody to see.
There's plenty of light.
I'll be glad to do the Cardi B. Okay. So first of all, what you got to do is you get into a dancing routine, and then you do your little, you do your butt like this, and then you go. Now, I don't know who asked for that, but I appreciate it because that's one of my best moves.
Until next time, this has been Purely Atriel.